There's plenty to think about before you buy a home computer.
Electronic games being heralded by folks in the trade as this year's holiday bestseller.
Children have skipped school or stolen money to play the games.
I'll be looking at the electronic game craze.
And at the end of the tape, I'll be back to tell you how to safeguard your computer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Streamer News for Friday, May 14th, 2021. Let's just enjoy this for a second. Oh yeah. For those who are unaware, as part of the housekeeping for today's stream, I am pleased to announce, you maybe saw it on Discord or the Twitter or the community tab on YouTube, we have announced that we now have available metal and hard rock music, royalty-free, free for you to use in your videos, in your live streams, in, whatever creative projects you like. It is called Backing Track, and it is hard rock, metal, thrash, gent. There's a bunch of different genres there that honestly I'm not even familiar with the names because I just rock out to it. We got a wonderful library of tracks. We have quite a bit of music here. This one's a little bit harder. I'm trying to keep the levels balanced since I can't actually hear myself because my setup is kind of whack. It is awesome. Backingtrack.gg is where you can check it out. It's available on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, YouTube Music. You have to actually search for the artist's name on YouTube Music, however. It's a little more complicated. I will try to get a short link available soon. And you can get free downloads to every track in the playlist for free over on our Discord server at discord.gg/EposVox. We provide free downloads there. And coming in June, we actually have stems available. So if you want to fully remix it or loop it to your heart's content, you have that freedom available to you as well. So again, that's Backing Track, backingtrack.gg, royalty free, serious actual rock and metal music. Pretty stoked. And the latest album that we dropped for it, we actually have for Sub Squad and people like that who have early access to videos and everything. We've been given early access teasers to the content and stuff. Well, when we announced the project publicly, we had a new album drop called Versus, and it is some of the most epic music you could possibly get. I wonder if it'll be playing in the background and stuff. So everything is... It's pretty sick. I've been using it in my videos over the course and these Streamer News streams for pretty much all of 2021. And so I've had a lot of questions in the comments about where the music comes from and things like that. And we haven't hit it. I just linked to Backing Track. But now it's publicly announced here. Go check it out because, yes. No, this is not a video put into OBS with alerts over it. For those confused every time. I've done this show for almost 2 years now, live every time, and there's always someone asking if it's pre-recorded. Every time. Do keep me pinged in chat with how the audio levels sound, by the way. Still working on everything, but bam. So that is part one of our housekeeping of things that have been going on recently. I am super stoked to have announced that. However, we also have some other stuff, of course, in terms of videos since the last Streamer News. I had my LG CX OLED review going that went up. I bought this back in November when we were moving. It is a freaking phenomenal TV. And they actually, basically the day I released that review, they released the LG C1, which is the next video, the next TV in the line. And the review embargo went live for that day and everything like that. But honestly, it comes from a place of, I review what I have and where I have it, and frankly, the context of how good that TV is applies to the new C1, and everything I've seen from the reviews, it's more of the same in terms of being a great TV and things like that, and so it just has some extra upgrades. But honestly, the CX is still cheaper, so you might want to go with that. Either way, check out the review. Got some awesome footage in there. Had a lot of fun with that. Then we had some more DaVinci Resolve tips from my boy Patrick. We had a discussion from the previous Streamer News about using an Xbox as a PC. I actually got an order for the Stream Deck, the Xbox Series S myself. I managed to grab one off of Xbox's website. It was apparently just good timing because I had tweeted, like, anyone have any in stock that doesn't require the credit application? And apparently it was just on Xbox's website. So I have one of those. Now, the Microsoft Edge supporting mouse and keyboard thing we talked about last Streamer News is not actually rolled out publicly yet, so I do have some insider access, so I will see if I can get access to it. But either way, we're going to be experimenting with what apps we can run in the UWP mode, in the little dev mode, as well as all of that stuff to kind of back up what I was saying in that video. So I put my money where my mouth is and bought, the Xbox Series S so we could cover it. Also, we have my upscaling retro consoles for streaming video. This is a part 2 to a video from last summer, and I actually recorded it last summer and just never got it out. I still had an influx of comments asking where that part 2 was because I promised it. It's here, and it's basically a mini masterclass. It features Tri from My Life in Gaming, and the extended cut over on Nebula is actually an hour long. So it's over an hour long. So there's 15-20 minutes of extra content that isn't included in the public YouTube release here that is available over on Nebula if you want to check that out. Then, of course, we got an update to NVIDIA's RTX broadcast, or just NVIDIA Broadcast Studio, which gives you a couple new features, including video noise removal to help remove noise from your actual video itself, as well as a room echo removal effect and a couple other things like that. Pretty sick. And they do have a video or a post about that. It did require new drivers. At the time of recording, I had to switch back to the Game Ready drivers, but they actually just released new studio drivers, which add support for it and things like that. So I just updated before today's stream. Hopefully I don't regret it, but the studio drivers are typically more stable and things like that. However, something I didn't have whenever I covered this was the information regarding AverMedia's voice engine and cam engine actually get the noise removal and virtual background features in that software. And so it is pretty neat, as well as, of course, OBS got the noise removal, the RTX voice in the version 27, which is still in release client. And so there's that going on. And then Notch VFX also gets the virtual background removal and body pose estimation, which I have never even used before. So I'm going to check it out at some point because it seems pretty sick. Also, there's some discussion in the chat regarding using the LG CX as a monitor. So it can be used as a monitor, and actually, there's a video I recommended in my review from Joshua Valor where he talks about using it as a gaming monitor and some quirks with that. But also, my boy Wendell from Level 1 Techs, he's significantly older than me, so I guess calling him my boy is inappropriate, but that's not the point. He actually has a video about using it as a productivity display as well, and he covers some more of the kind of techie, nerdy stuff, less from the gaming directly perspective, and so I do recommend checking that video out as well. But again, as Ice was saying, it is a TV, it is not a monitor. So while you can use a monitor as a TV, there are some differences in terms of the usability and the quirks involved with them that you will have to consider for that purpose. I believe that wraps up today's housekeeping, so we can just get into the actual news. Thank you so much for joining me today here on Streamer News. Do go make sure you check out the backing track music and things like that. And we got some good topics for you today and some funky stuff as well. And we got some pretty neat stuff to talk about in terms of unboxings that we'll have during the unboxing segment. I did, however, forget a huge announcement. I totally forgot. Huge announcement. So, one final piece of personal channel related news before we get into the actual tech news. I have a new live streamed show coming. I believe it's going to be on Tuesdays, probably around the 3 p.m. Eastern time slot, as Streamer News has been. And it's going to be pretty much every Tuesday moving forward. It'll be both on YouTube and on Amazon Live. And it's called AFK Chat. And on here, I'm going to be testing out random, products that I've been sent for review that I just haven't made time to test for actual reviews. In fact, I have here literally buckets of these products that I have been sent for review that I just haven't had the time to make videos for. And so we're going to say, screw it, we're doing it live here on AFK Chat. And so we're going to take things like these cheaper webcams that everyone says are decent and, you know, worth using and things like that. And we're going to try to squeeze the best quality out of them. We're going to take, you know, cheap microphones and see if we can get better quality out of them. We're going to check out, you know, knockoff capture cards and see if they're worth using and what the quality looks like from there. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be an hour to 2 hour-ish, just like Streamer News, but that'll be on Tuesdays, roughly around 3 p.m. Eastern. And the big push will, of course, be for Amazon Live, but I will be multi-streaming it to YouTube as well, which is pretty neat. So I am stoked for that. Again, that's called AFK Chat. I will have more details soon. We're probably going to be using the last couple weeks in May here kind of as a testing grounds for me to get the workflow built up, because there's a couple quirks of the setup and things like that that I want to work out and smooth before we, you know, make a huge show out of it. But I am pretty stoked. I think it's going to turn out quite nicely, and I think you guys are going to like it a lot. All right, let's get into the actual news here. We have Epic Games acquired Artstation, which is an educational platform for artists. And with the way that, you know, with the way that Epic does when they acquire things, pretty much every learning class available on Artstation when it comes to Photoshop, Clip Studio, ZBrush, all of that is available for free. So as this tweet mentions, if you want to enjoy some free education, you have 12-year-olds playing Fortnite to thank for that. So that is pretty neat and kind of felt a little bit out there, but it makes sense since Epic has the Epic, you know, the Unreal Engine and all of that, and the game development tools that they are integrating that somehow, but pretty neat regardless. Just wanted to make a quick note of that one. We're going to get into a couple pieces of Xbox news here. First and foremost, a lot of new games got FPS Boost support on the Xbox Series consoles. And so we now have 97 total games with FPS Boost support. So you've got Alien Isolation, Anthem, lots of Assassin's Creed games, the Battlefield games, and so they have the charts which display whether the games will run at 60 hertz, which means they were updated from 30 FPS running previously, as well as games that will run at 120 hertz when they were previously limited to 30 or 60. And then also a division between whether it runs, this new boost runs on Series X or Series S hardware, as well as whether it's off by default on Series X. And this is really interesting because there are some games, and I do recommend checking out Digital Foundry for coverage on this, but there are some games that actually you might get a worse experience with this FPS boost. And that seems a little weird, but there are certain games that received Xbox One X patches that are Xbox One X specific versions of those games, which got graphical updates or FPS boosts on their own and what have you. And those will be the default version that installs on most of the games for Xbox Series X, is you get those Xbox One X enhanced titles. However, the FPS boost is actually built based on the Xbox One, you know, the One and the One S base console version. And so you have a little bit of a dilemma here where you have to choose the FPS boost or the updated graphics when you're choosing which version actually runs here in this version. So that's why some of the games have this checkmark for being disabled by default on Series X, because you may actually have a better time with the version that it installs by default, which is a little complicated. I don't like that. I hope that they have a better way of unifying it, but it's still pretty neat regardless. And new additions include Alien Isolation, the Far Cry games, 5, New Dawn Primal, Assassin's Creed 3, Rogue, and the Ezio Collection, all remastered. Unfortunately, Assassin's Creed 1 is still the classic Xbox 360 30 FPS cap, but hopefully they figure out something for that. You've got Mad Max, Life is Strange, Metro, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Evil Within, Prey, Yakuza 6, and many more. And we had previously covered that EA just added a bunch of games, so you got Titanfall and Battlefield and stuff. So this is very exciting and just adding more and more and more value to these consoles, which I can always appreciate. With that, if you are having trouble getting your hands on the console, although I got the S just fine myself, like I just said, they are launching a new console purchase pilot specifically for Xbox Insiders. And this allows those of you who are Xbox Insiders, which is free to sign up. It's just basically the beta testing program. And honestly, you can sign up and test it once or twice and then just go back to the standard just not running insider builds. Like, I don't think my Xbox Series X or my One X at the moment actually run insider builds at the moment, but I'm still part of that program and I can still do the Halo insider testing and things like that. You now get basically priority to register and reserve an Xbox Series S or X to purchase one for yourself, which makes it a little bit easier to basically kind of emulate the verified actual gamer idea to make sure that the consoles are getting in the hands of actual gamers. And I would like to see Sony do something similar for PlayStation 5 for long-term PlayStation Plus subscribers. Like people who've been PS Plus subscribers for a year or so. And it doesn't even have to be, like, I feel like if it's a year consistently, that might be a little too restrictive. But like a total of 12 total months of PS Plus subscription in your history, relative history, the past 2 years or something, that might be a good filter to get PlayStation 5s in the hands of actual, verified actual gamers as well. And so that is pretty sick too. I'm glad they're rolling that out. Like I said, I'd love to see PlayStation do the same thing, and maybe Nintendo, if they start rolling out the Switch Pro we keep hearing rumors about, maybe they'll do something similar, because most people are paying for the Nintendo subscription anyway. The Devil Loves Gaming says, I have a 10-year PSN subscription. Yeah, mine is currently, I think I do too at this point, because I took advantage of 2 different sales. There was one around Black Friday and then one that just went live, which, by the way, we share in our Discord server, discord.gg/EposVox. One that just went live a month or so, or a few weeks ago, where you could get 3 years of it for super cheap. And I forgot I did the Black Friday one, and so I have bought 6 years of PlayStation Plus subscription in the past 6 months. And so I'm renewed until like 2029, I think. So on whatever PlayStation 7 we're gaming on at that point in time, I'm covered. Yeah. Also, the Xbox got a May update, which improves the Quick Resume feature, making it more reliable, faster load times when you're using Quick Resume, and it'll let you organize your games based on whether or not they support Quick Resume, which is pretty sick. And then they also added in pass-through audio features for listening in media apps, so they can pass through more perfectly to your stereo systems or what have you. They also give you better parental controls for locking or enabling multiplayer games for your kids, which is actually really cool to see. As a parent now, I'm starting to care about this stuff. My kid isn't at the age to start using an Xbox yet, but it's still something I'm now thinking about. And of course, there was the Xbox 20th anniversary celebration that has kicked off, because this year is the 20th anniversary of the Xbox console, as well as Halo. And so they've been releasing cool wallpapers and art and things like that, which is pretty exciting. So go check that out. Now, we do have some PlayStation news switching over that is kind of exciting, but also a little, I guess, could be a turnoff for some people, in that PlayStation has partnered with Discord. So we covered before that there was this whole thing of Discord was potentially opening up to being bought for like $10 billion or something by another company. And for a while, Microsoft was supposedly in talks with doing that. And eventually Discord said that they weren't going with that deal, and that they're likely going to just go public instead of be bought. And they have now partnered with PlayStation, who have purchased a minority stake in Discord. And they will start rolling out Discord integration into the PlayStation service next year. Now, I'm disappointed that it's going to take them until next year to roll it out, and I really hope they can still work out some sort of deal with Xbox, because I think having Discord integration with the consoles in the future is going to be just a ton of value for everyone. So just as I was cautious about Xbox purchasing it and all of that in the first place, I don't want to see this become a PlayStation exclusive. I want to see Discord just get integrated in with the consoles in general to improve the voice chatting experience, especially with crossplay being so important these days, even if Sony is against it, which we'll talk about in a moment. Crossplay is a huge deal at the moment, and getting proper, communication and chat going through crossplay is actually not a great experience right now, and would be improved greatly by using a third-party platform like Discord, which allows you to connect between, the two sets of platforms. But we'll see. PlayStation is super anti-competitive. I don't think that's the right word, but also, anti-crossplay and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just offered Discord enough money to take that minority stake, but tell them to not integrate with Xbox, which would be disappointing, but like I said, not super surprising. Next up in PlayStation news, we got some rumors from Upload VR, who seems to be a pretty good authority when it comes to VR news and releases and things like that. They got some rumors about the upcoming next-gen PlayStation VR headset. We haven't actually had a new PlayStation 5 VR headset yet, and we got some news about it, which supposedly the headset will be 4K, which is a 4000 by 2040 screen size per eye. Well, 2000 by 2040 per eye. And then a lens separation adjustment dial, gaze tracking capable of foveated rendering, meaning that it can actually scan basically where your eyes are looking across the screen and render more detail predictively based on that, instead of just having to render the entire scene in, which is fascinating, if so. As well as some other stuff like haptic feedback, a motor in there. It would have to be a really gentle haptic feedback, because having something vibrate against your head is going to give me a headache already, and VR is already so prone to motion sickness and headache related issues that I would be super nervous to add any more risk into that. But exciting stuff regardless. Honestly, I am very behind on the VR train. I still have in my box over here on a shelf my original Oculus Rift that I got sent a couple years ago to make a video on some VR stuff, and I ended up playing it was Hellblade. And the whispering, the ASMR stuff actually kind of gave me some panic attack issues, and I stopped playing from there, even though I enjoyed the mech games and things like that I was playing. And frankly, at this point, I've just been given the impression that it's not worth using to play the new Half-Life and things like that, and so I just haven't messed with VR at all. And so I've been keeping an eye out on all the new releases. There was also the new, I think the new Vive event just happened, and they announced new Vive hardware and things like that. So there's a lot of new VR developments coming forward. None of them really using that USB-C connector NVIDIA told us would be standardized. But I'm looking to see if anything might be worth my money, but it's all pretty expensive at the moment. And the only reason I got the Rift in the first place was because it was sent to me. So whatever. In terms of being able to purchase a PlayStation, Sony warns that the PlayStation 5 supply will be limited into next year. And this is, again, as we talked about many times already, a really interesting idea, because they've actually sold more PlayStation 5s at launch than they sold PS4s. And roughly 10% or so have ended up in the hands of scalpers, but otherwise, most of them have ended up in the hands of gamers. However, there's just that much more demand for it this year, and so they're really struggling to keep up with supply. Now, I find it interesting when everyone makes a big deal about individual product companies pointing out that the supply will be an issue into 2022, because all of that is predicated on a statement from TSMC, which claimed that their shortages and their supply chain issues will last until 2022. And all of these companies, the car companies, the fridge companies, the consoles, whatever, they're all reliant effectively on TSMC to get more factories up and running and meet demand, on top of the drought issues they were having in China, or in Taiwan, and all of those issues. And so there's nothing like inherently specific to PlayStation here that is shorter, I guess. But it is worth noting that it's affecting everything, and it doesn't. And someone in chat is again saying, but all the bots have them. I don't think majority gamers have PS5. According to analysts, and that only goes so far, but scalpers and bots and things like that only account for 10 to 12% of sales. And so realistically, most of the consoles, 10 to 12% is not insignificant, but realistically, most of the consoles that have been sold have ended up in the hands of people who are playing them. Also, keep in mind that the bots and everything are buying them to sell them, not to hoard them. So theoretically, they're still ending up eventually in the hands of people, even if they're just paying more for it. But what have you. Also, I just want to take a second and appreciate this is one of the tracks off the new Versus album, a backing track. Drink break. It's so good. This new album is so good. Again, that's backingtrack.gg. Go check it out. We got a couple more pieces of PlayStation news here while we're at it. The PS Vita store. We've talked about in a couple streamer news now. There was this whole drama of Sony announcing that the PS3 and PS Vita stores would be shutting down this summer permanently. And we were like, what the heck? And they said, oh, okay, that's fine. We'll put them back up. However, the deadlines to get new games listed on the PS Vita store has not changed. And so there will be no new games available to be listed on the PS Vita store after this summer. And there are still plenty of Japanese developers working on PlayStation Vita games that will now basically have to crunch to get them out in time for this. It's a little weird because realistically they have no major reason to not just go ahead and keep letting developers release games for it. But of course they're going to try to force everyone over to their newer platforms and whatever. But it's worth noting regardless, as we may see some some games that never make it to light because they can't meet the deadline for releasing. One last piece of Sony PlayStation related news in that throughout this whole epic Apple lawsuit that's been going on, lots of weird stuff has been released, and frankly, I don't care to cover most of it. It's just, there's lots of drama and confusion and old people making laws that don't understand technology and all of that. However, and we knew, because Rocket League launched with crossplay and then Sony quickly shut it down, we knew that Sony was already one of the ones that was locking in crossplay in the first place. But we got some leaked documents here that kind of showcase just how serious Sony was about restricting crossplay, to the extent that they are the only platform that charges the game publishers revenue share money to give back to Sony that they claim are being lost through crossplay in order to allow crossplay to happen. So if you have a multiplayer game that you like and you're wondering why it doesn't support crossplay on the PlayStation for your favorite to play with your friends or whatever, it's because Sony is charging them to have crossplay when no one else is. And that's just really kind of crappy. They have been so just awfully against it, and they effectively, Epic had to negotiate with them to play up Sony allowing crossplay, when in reality they're being pretty crappy about it. Based on all these business predictions that they're losing money by crossplay being enabled, which I don't know that I believe, but it's a thing, and I'm not the one who makes those rules or analyzes the business for it, so it doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get away from game console topics and talk about social media. Twitter has released Twitter Spaces to pretty much everyone with 600 or more followers. So if you are unaware, Twitter Spaces are effectively Clubhouse. Clubhouse was an iOS-only app. They're finally rolling out on Android that set up this basically kind of recreated a convention panel. If you've ever seen or been to like a TwitchCon or a local convention or something, where you have like 4 or 5 people up that are experts on a topic, and they're the ones talking, and then they might open the floor to a Q&A or bring someone else from the crowd up. But otherwise, the main focus is on these people, and it's this very curated and kind of, controlled presentation of sorts that has some degree of interaction, but it's not just like a live stream or either just an open voice chat. It's really just a tweak on the general voice chat concept. It's not something that needed its own platform in the first place, and as such, Clubhouse made the fullest decision to not sell for like $400 million or something really high, and they're going to be made obsolete because every other platform is integrating this same feature. Twitter is one of them. They integrated Twitter Spaces and tried it out, and it was going well. It shows up in the fleets part in the top of the UI. And they are now rolling it out so that anyone with 600 or more followers can host a space. And they're going to roll out ticketed spaces where you can charge money for it, co-hosting, scheduling, lots of features for it. And honestly, it's pretty cool. It's a great way for creators to virtually get together and present in a way that doesn't require video production value. It's mostly audio-based. And I think that's pretty cool. I do want to see more that involve video, though, because I think this would be a great replacement for webinars without requiring some of those weird third-party platforms that are built around charging for it, when you can mostly just do free ones, which would be pretty cool. So there's a whole huge long thread about this. But Discord is also getting Clubhouse-like features called stage channels, and that's really important for our Discord server, and I'm going to talk about that actually at the end of the show. So this is Twitter. Discord's doing something very different, and we're going to talk about that towards the end of the show because there's some announcements to make there as well. Next up, as I said many times, and as I made videos about the Twitch VOD track feature, as I talked about people who were doing everything they could to just not have their music in their VODs but still play it live DMCA takedowns are now a thing on Twitch. I said countless times it would be a thing. It's a thing now. As Zach Busey points out here, there is now a copyright takedown form that includes the option to take down a stream that is currently live. Now, this was already possible, but it wasn't something that just any copyright holder had access to. Only certain ones did, and blah, 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 blah. But it is a thing that exists now, and there's already documented cases of it happening multiple times. Like, companies are already taking strong use of it. Now, this doesn't necessarily, obviously, you know, there are issues, as being pointed out here, with Twitch's communication about it. They're not, as usual, they're not communicating greatly about it. But, of course, this doesn't excuse anyone for streaming copyrighted content that they don't have licenses to. And the people who are using the separate VOD track and separate live track to stream copyrighted music, while currently that specific thing doesn't have any example of DMCAs, and I think that's because mostly TV and movie related content holders have been the ones who have been filing the takedown so far. It's coming, and it will come with a vengeance. And so if you are using this to try to skirt around the copyright rules, things will go bad. We're going to get to our ad break real quick so I can get a drink and pull in some unboxing stuff, but we still have some great topics ahead of us, so stick with us.
Back to PlayStation!
This episode of Streamer News is brought to you by my own streaming platform, where I get to kind of not play ball with all of YouTube's algorithms and crazy requirements of streamers and the pressure and things like that. I just get to, I've partnered with my creator friends to build this website so we get to be sustainable and share our videos in higher quality without ads and often extended from the YouTube cut, without the stress and hassle that YouTube brings us. The site is called Nebula, and we've partnered with CuriosityStream. Nebula features YouTube's top education creators such as Legal Eagle, Thomas Frank, Low Sweat Gamer, MKBHD, Lindsay Ellis, myself. CuriosityStream saw what we were doing for educational content and wanted to partner up. We've worked out a deal where if you sign up with the link below, you not only get access to CuriosityStream and their library of thousands of educational and documentary content, but you get access to Nebula for free for the entire duration of your subscription to CuriosityStream. For a limited time, CuriosityStream is offering 26% off of their annual plan, making it less than $15 per year for both CS and Nebula. While you're there, check out Meet the Avatars, a very interesting dive into the prospect of effectively reviving dead people into animated, you know, electronic avatars, or spending time with them in virtual reality, and the ethics and the weird, you know, ness that we'll have to deal with that comes along with such a crazy technological advancement. Head on over to curiositystream.com/epos for the best deal in streaming and get access to both sites for under $15 per year.
SEGA is rolling out a new video game console this week.
It's one world. Why view it through two windows? Panasonic introduces the 36-inch SVGA TV.
Alrighty, I am pulling up a couple links here. Sorry, I ran into some slowdown as we were getting going. Hope everyone is having a great Friday. Hope you guys have some exciting weekend plans. We got some cool unboxings here going, assuming everything is working properly. There we go. My windows got moved around. I have a very particular window layout that I use here for this stream that when it gets messed up, I get very frustrated. Here we go. So, first and foremost, we have a mysterious black envelope, and this is actually pretty exciting. This is a retro gaming magazine. The Video Game History Foundation actually releases, has a subscription-based service, which think what you will, but is a blind box random grab bag of their duplicate magazines from any era in gaming. And so previously I have gotten magazines for Halo 3 and Metal Gear Solid 2, and here we have a classic PlayStation magazine featuring Dead or Alive, Resident Evil 2, and Tekken 3. So this is from the PlayStation 1 era, March of 1998. This is only issue number 7 of the PlayStation mag, which is insane. I have a huge collection of older PlayStation mags, and so I am excited to add it to my collection. And this one, it's almost kind of like it's graded. It's all protected in the sleeve with the cardboard backing, and they even have a certificate of authenticity confirming that it is 100% legit. signed by the co-directors of the Video Game History Foundation, which is pretty sick. I love collecting these. And like I said, I have a huge collection of mags already, and nice to add these like specific ones to my collection as we go. However, that's not the only magazine I have to show off. I have this giant package from the UK that I am very excited to open up that I honestly didn't realize would come so quickly. That is the wrong button. Here we go. So this is hopefully in decent condition, because there is definitely some exposed stuff here. I know this camera's pretty dark. We have here... I'm assuming this is what this is. If this is something different, my link will be wrong. Yeah, this is what it is. Hell yeah. So this is the E1M1 magazine collection. This is the world's first, supposedly, old school shooter mag. And so this episode has Postal 2 on the cover. This is issue number 6. So they have, I believe, 6 issues so far that I picked up. This has The Darkness. We've got a Medieval. These covers are sick. And these are all signed. We've got Dusk. Great game on Steam, along with the Medieval. Go check them out. They are new retro games. Alright, music turned up a little bit. We got Ion Fury. Awesome shooter, by the way. And we got Viscerafest. I've not actually heard about that one. I will have to check it out. So, these are magazines. These were in a really weird order. But these, of course, are magazines about old school shooters and modern retro shooters that are really freaking awesome. I will have a link to them posted in chat here. Getting the full set, especially imported from the UK, was not super cheap, but worth it, because I freaking, in case you can't tell, I freaking love gaming magazines, and especially supporting publications that are still supporting the old school formats and stuff like that is really cool. So we've got stuff about Serious Sam. We've got full art here from Ion Fury, concept art, reviews, Half-Life. That's awesome. So these are great. I just love going through these in my spare time. Lots of awesome articles, and I'd love to contribute to some of these someday. A gaming magazine of some sort. In fact, my original intended career path was actually to work in games media for like a magazine or something. So that's pretty neat. Regardless, I am smashing my iMac keyboard, and it's making a lot of sound. There we go. So I'm going to turn down my headphones. Is the music still balanced? Okay, I had some requests to turn it up, so I turned it up. Hopefully not too loud. It's not cover to cover ads. Yeah, that's the thing. So when you support a kind of more indie magazine like that, and, you know, it is a little bit more expensive, but you are supporting a publication that is basically, that is kind of meant to be, it's meant to be a community-backed project. You don't get constant, like, PC builder ads or anything like that. You just get straight content. And so to me, it's worth it. And especially since they don't release super often, so you don't, it's not like you're paying for it constantly. It's super awesome. So I'm subbed to a couple, like, Enforce for Nintendo stuff. I've got Retro Gamer Mag and a few others like that. So there's that. So here we have something that will tie into one of our topics after we're done here. So I'm actually going to save it for last, which means we have a really big package to open. And I'm not sure exactly how to make it work. So I'm going to switch on over here to our bird's eye camera, which reveals how messy the studio is because I'm in the middle of like 5 major projects at once. We have a giant box to open here. I'm going to take off my headphones for this. Now this was not something I expected to come already. This is from Ye Old Limited Run Games. I pre-ordered this months ago and super stoked to show it off. Whee! Oh yeah, we got a box in a box. Okay. Well, juggling all of this is fun. What this is it is Doom 64. Limited Run Games does limited re-releases of older games or prints of games that were digital only, and they do awesome collector's editions and things like that. We'll get a close-up look at these in a minute. They come with goofy little trading cards that I don't really care for myself, but they exist. And then this is the Super Omega Collector's Edition, which I had to get because it comes with something that I am a huge fan of. Doom 64, by the way, is kind of a weird entry into the Doom franchise, but it is a lot of fun for its own game. This was really well packed. A box in a bag and a box in a box. This is the Doom 64 helmet. I had to. When they announced they were doing this, I just absolutely had to, because I specifically have the Doom Eternal helmet as well as my Halo 3 helmet collection over on my retro setup by my LG CX. I will post a picture of this on Twitter after the stream. It comes with it. I'm also a pin collector. It comes with an amazing Doom floppy pin. I have pins distributed all over the studio as decor. I get probably a rolled up poster, not too worried about that. Mainly because I'm out of wall space at this point. Man, they make this stuff I will say, look how much garbage I have created that I have to just figure out what to do with just by opening this one thing. That's always frustrating. We always have mountains of boxes to get rid of whenever garbage and recycling days come. And another bag! Okay. Oh my god, it is glorious! Look at this thing! Rip and tear! Yeah! I can't believe it actually fits my big head. This is actually a pretty giant keyboard. Or helmet, rather. This is a pretty giant helmet. That is awesome. Alright. I'm impressed. This is pretty nice. This is actually surprisingly well made. You can see through it for the most part. It's got like straps in here to actually keep you comfortable. Doesn't have much breathing capability or a voice changer or anything, but we don't need a voice changer. It's built in. I am so stoked. I'm gonna have to clear off one of my shelves to put it with the rest of my helmets, but this is freaking awesome, man. Yeah. All right, and then we have the actual the game itself here, which obviously didn't come in the helmet. That was sold separately. This is the game itself. I'm not gonna open this. Well, I'll open it real quick. This comes in a classic Nintendo 64 style box, which I love. I don't actually have very many of because all my Nintendo 64 games were used back in the day, but you know, you can see my eyes through the helmet. That's sick. So how do I want to open this without bending it up too much? Oh, come on. There we go. Inside. Alright, so this is just a dummy cart. Oh, it's heavy too. This is just a dummy cart. They do these with some of these releases. This is the heaviest one I've seen so far, though. It is a gold Doom 64 cartridge. Again, there's nothing in it. I guess theoretically you could try to mount a PCB in it, but it feels pretty metal. That might short out. I wouldn't recommend. I don't even know if it's like accurate to size, but pretty sick as a display item. And you get a behind the scenes booklet. Pretty cool stuff. You get another poster, which I'm just going to leave here for now, and then you get a port of Doom 64 for the PlayStation 4. Which is pretty sick. I think they had for Switch as well. So awesome stuff overall. Oh wait, is there more in here? No, that's just the weight of the cartridge. That's awesome. Well, sometimes I pre-order sometimes I pre-order game collector's editions and stuff like that and don't always feel I got my money's worth. This is not the case. This was definitely worth its weight in fake gold cartridges. There we go. All right. Pretty freaking sick. All right, we got one final unboxing thing that's just a teaser. In case you are unaware, I do stream Pokemon card unboxings and openings and things like that over on Twitch at twitch.tv/EposVox. I also have a YouTube channel called HoloQuest, where I post opening videos and the like too as well. And I believe, since there's Pikachu on the box here, that this is more product for that. Straight from Japan. Oh yeah. So this is the new Japan exclusive Elite Trainer box for one of the Japanese only sets called, I actually forgot what it's called. Something ice and black horse thing. I don't remember at the moment, but this is 2 parts of the set that becomes Chilling Rain here in the States in June. So I'm opening up all the Japanese stuff early. So this is the Japanese equivalent of an Elite Trainer box. So it comes with 2 booster boxes, a bunch of cool card sleeves, a deck box, and then this is actually a double wide deck box. Usually they're smaller. So this is pretty sick. Thank you for the kind words, T-Mad TV. Thank you for stopping by the stream. All right, let's get everything together. And since you guys are being so awesome today, this stream is actually going surprisingly well, and you all have been very supportive. I want to tease something. I have never done merch before on this channel. I've not liked it. I don't want to slap my logo on a t-shirt and be like, buy it, because you'll love it and support me or whatever. And so I've been working on making merch that you guys will actually like. We're keeping it old school VHS style, and merch is coming this month. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have limited runs of a bunch of different cool designs and things like that over time. And I'm hoping to build both, kind of toy / aesthetic products that I at least collect and like. And if you saw today's stream, you will pick up on what some of those will be, as well as functional stuff, like a pretty badass mouse mat. We'll have more details soon. I'm not really supposed to say much, but we'll have some soon. So if you've been shopping for a desk mat, maybe hold off a few weeks. Maybe hold off a few weeks. That's about all I've got to say, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get a drink here, and we will finish off today's topics. We actually have quite a few still to dive into, so we still got a good amount of stream left ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. This is another song off that Versus album. It don't fit over my headphones. That's a size note, I guess. I want headphones built into this. Wireless headphones built into this. I bet I could mod it. I bet there's room in here. And yes, there will be international shipping. All right. Back in the actual news for today. We've had enough fun today. Thank you all for supporting my wildness and fun here. Everyone's hodling. We have updates to YouTube's community posts here announced by the team. They're rolling out new features. If you have 1,000 subs or more, you'll be getting post analytics in YouTube Studio. And Android only for now, you'll be able to put up to 5 images in a community post instead of just 1. And then on iOS, you can now schedule posts for the community tab, which was already available on desktop and Android anyway. What's the band? Backing Track, our own royalty-free music that we launched and announced at the start of the stream. You can head on over to backingtrack.gg to get access to to a few samples of the playlist. for Spotify, I think Apple Music and Amazon Music, but it's also available on YouTube Music and all sorts of stuff. And it's free to download in our Discord server. If you want to join us on Discord, we have all the tracks available to download at discord.gg/EposVox. So, yeah, that's the music. But yeah, new features coming to the YouTube community tab. I know a lot of people are tired of the community posts on mobile and things like that, and it's become kind of a meme. But honestly, it's a really useful feature, and so I'm in support of them continuing to develop it myself, personally. Twitter has introduced a tip jar. Well, they're still rolling it out. It's still in testing. I don't have access to it yet, but they are rolling out a tip jar that just shows up on a Twitter profile, and you can send cash via a few different options, including Patreon, which is interesting. Really cool. Love to see that Twitter is rolling out more creator features that allows viewers to support creators on platforms. Because the way I like to frame this is we always talk about how you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, and that implies incredibly important it's incredibly important for your monetization to not be distributed to... Sorry, my wording is failing. I'm looking at chat. It is incredibly important for your monetization to not be all in one basket in terms of the metaphorical eggs here. It is incredibly important for you to distribute your monetization across different platforms. And so, for example, as a streamer or as a YouTuber or as a content creator, instead of just relying on the monetization features in the platform that you're actually creating content on, be that YouTube AdSense or, YouTube channel members or Twitch subs or whatever, you should really be... You'll always have the people that support you through those available features because they're immediately right there on the site itself. Because if you're on YouTube or Twitch, it's like sub. You'll get people who naturally use it. So that means that your work to actually promote people to go to another website to support you needs to be for another platform. And so as a streamer or content creator, it could be incredibly important to encourage people, if they want to contribute to you financially, to do it on a platform like Twitter. Because that both builds up your Twitter presence in case you lose access to your stream or your YouTube channel or whatever. That's another site you can contact them, as well as just more building up your brand and reaching new people in the first place. And that's a second place of monetization. In case monetization falls through or you get banned from your content platform, people can still support you as a creator as you transition somewhere else. Distributing your eggs, monetizing everywhere, even if you don't get, even if you have, like, for example, I have I believe it's called Ko-fi, but it's worded like coffee, K-O-F-I. It's basically like a Patreon clone. I have that set up. I get every once in a while someone buying me a coffee through it, and I have like 3 people that go on it. Those 3 people still matter. Now, I will still loop them back to Discord for posts and things like that because I can't manage outreach on every monetization platform. But by providing that option available, people who prefer to use those platforms, who may have otherwise not supported me because they are, they are involved in those platforms or whatever, they are now able to support me. So they get both the advantage of getting access to whatever they get access to through the financial support, and it's money left on the table if you don't give that option to them. So I just think it's really important. However, there is one little issue, possibly a big issue, with this if you're contributing to other people. So as creators, I recommend being careful for a little bit. And I haven't checked. This was May 6th originally when all this went live, so there could be updates since then. But PayPal was actually treating it as a purchase in that it was supplying your shipping address. And so someone tipped here and actually exposed their address to the person that they were sending the money to, which is obviously a privacy concern if you are a creator supporting other creators. There's doxing concerns, things like that. However, it is apparently a specific issue with PayPal, and Twitter itself is already looking at it and looking to work that out, and it looks like they have updated it already. So we are good to go here. But I do want to highlight this specifically because you do have the option on PayPal to change your default address. And as a creator, you should generally register some sort of P.O. box, be it through your local post office. They have just dedicated small shops that do these kinds of things, or through other shipping carriers such as UPS and things like that. Because you have to use an address whenever you're filing copyright takedowns on YouTube or Twitch, for example, when you're submitting legal documents and things like that. And you don't want your address to be available publicly. And a very strong way to avoid this in most cases is to set up a P.O. box and use that address for all those things. So my default address on my PayPal is my P.O. box. So if I accidentally expose it to someone, they just get my public address. If I file a copyright takedown on YouTube, it's my P.O. box. You can send hate mail to my P.O. box, but I'm just going to throw it away. No real harm can come to me from the P.O. box. So even though it appears Twitter is either working on resolving it or has resolved it, and it was mostly a PayPal issue, I do recommend people making sure that their defaults are set up so that you don't expose your personal information in the first place. That is a very important thing. There's obvious privacy issues when it comes to specific platforms and how they handle and display your information, but there is also operational security, which is you doing your part to make sure that, you know, none of that is exposed in the first place. And that's also on you to some degree. For the next piece of news I have in my list here, I don't actually have a website for it because they took it down, but a bunch of you kept pinging me in comments that Razer released an autofocus update for the Razer Kiyo Pro webcam that I reviewed. That supposedly fixed up the autofocus, or rather improved it a little bit, or what have you. And I went to go check it out when I made my NVIDIA broadcast video. I was going to include it in that video, and the link has been taken down because the autofocus update has apparently been bricking webcams. And so currently you can search it up and pull it up, but it's like, yeah, contact support if you're having issues. So that does mean that they have the capability of updating the autofocus for the Razer Kiyo Pro. However, currently that update is not available. Worth noting. Apparently, Instagram is rolling out desktop support after years and years of requests and complaints due to just they always wanted to keep it super mobile focused because I think it helped kind of manage spam and stuff for a while. Now, they did eventually open the API, so platforms like Later would let you schedule posts from the desktop, but you could never really directly interact with Instagram. Like, it basically all Later did, at least for a while at least, would basically ping your phone and fill out all of your images and your captions and things like that automatically for you, but you still had to post to it on your phone. Well, Instagram is now rolling out a flow to allow you to actually post directly to Instagram from the desktop. Now, the experience probably, if it's anything like TikTok, the experience isn't going to be as great as on mobile. Excuse me, but the option is there. The hilarious thing that 9to5Mac points out, Instagram has stated many times that iPad is just not on their priority list. So currently, if you open up Instagram on the iPad, you just get the iOS version, super chunky and scaled weird, and there's no iPad specific things, and it doesn't work very well. And that is incredibly disappointing. And I don't really understand why they're continuing to ignore it, personally. So I mentioned the Pokemon card opening that we did relates to something that we're talking about in the news, in that Walmart, Target, and I believe one other store have announced that they are no longer selling trading cards, be it sports, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, in the store, and are moving it all to online, citing employee safety concerns. And it appears there was like a gun drawn over sports cards or something, and they're all just making the decision between all the crazy rollouts they've had to do. It's just become too much of a burden for them, and it's not worth them selling it in the stores. And I understand that to a degree, but it is kind of disappointing to see that Pokemon cards are really getting to this point. And I really don't know what the solution is. Like, things are just kind of getting ruined for everyone because of scalpers and people who are being jerks. And it's really sad to see, because Pokemon cards have honestly been a really fun hobby. And I run my own opening channel and things like that and have fun with them. And it's kind of disappointing to see this happen, but hopefully once they get the printers going up, because basically they've just, Pokemon themselves has had supply issues. Everything's been wrecked by COVID. Hopefully once they get supply kind of stabilized a little bit, we'll see a lot of this return to normal. But for now, it's kind of a bad place. And that's why I've been buying a lot of the Japanese stuff, because not only do I get it early, and the opening rates are a lot higher, the pull rates are a lot better, but I can just pre-order this stuff from Japan, not pay much of an exorbitant price, and be good to go. But it's still frustrating and disappointing to see my great, my fun childhood hobby be torn to bits like this, honestly. It's really fascinating. Going back to some YouTube news, YouTube Shorts specifically is now out of beta. So all US users can use their Shorts creation tool. As I keep saying every time I talk about Shorts, because someone gets confused every time, Shorts are just a video with a hashtag on it, basically. So a vertical video less than 60 seconds in length that have hashtag shorts in the title or description. Anyone can make and upload them just as a normal video, and they will end up in the shorts shelf here on the homepage for mobile users. But the app specifically, which was a TikTok clone app, was only available in India until it rolled out in beta recently and is now available for everybody. So it's now out of beta. You're going to see a lot more of them. They've been tweaking notifications and things like that to make them a little bit less abrasive to desktop users. However, they still have not made the switch that I think is required for this to really work, to treat shorts as a different content type. Currently, if you go to your YouTube manager, there's videos, there's live posts, there's community posts, and there's stories. They need to make shorts their own type of posts so that people like me who actually enjoy the short form format, I have like 17K followers on TikTok because I've been having fun with it. I'd love to keep posting more here with shorts, but I don't want to assault my viewers who are on desktop and who don't like shorts with them by treating them as normal videos. That's not a win-win for creators. I think this is especially important considering the next piece of news. The next piece of news being that YouTube is rolling out a YouTube Shorts Fund, which resembles the TikTok Creator Fund. They are investing $100 million to distribute over the course of 2021 to 2022. And every month, they're going to contact thousands of creators and give them a little cash and celebrate their work here on Shorts. Anyone is eligible to participate in basically just by creating shorts that delight the YouTube community, whatever that means. But an important note here is in order to earn the funds from this YouTube Shorts Fund, you do not need to be in the YouTube Partner Program, which is very exciting. So pretty cool regardless, but hopefully we see some good momentum happen with this and they actually change some of the things that we really need changed in order for this to be a viable format for established creators to use. Now you can start out your own shorts channel, and I have my own secondary channel here that you can check out that has both highlights here from Streamer News in case you miss an episode or just want to hear a specific story, as well as shorts that I feel are worth saving from TikTok. It's called Stream Guides. I will link it in the chat. And like I said, it just has highlights from Streamer News, it has shorts, it has lots of just extra little tidbits, so you can check that out if you like. But realistically, if you want creators who have established channels posting that to their audiences and putting in the work, they need to work with creators to make the format something that isn't going to burn their viewers, because currently that's how it's set up, and it's pretty frustrating. One last piece of YouTube news here. They have finally released sub-only chat for streamers and gaming creators, where you can restrict it to subscribers only. And I believe you can actually tweak how long a sub has to have been subbed in order to be able to send the message, which is pretty neat. This is one of many features that have been requested that will help bring YouTube up to par with Twitch in terms of certain features and things like that. I've been talking about that a lot because a lot of people have been just completely frustrated with the state of Twitch and the things that they are doing over on Twitch. And this is them, and a lot of those creators are starting to switch to YouTube for certain things. And so the more of these updates and improvements that they bring to YouTube streaming, the more that's going to be viable for people. I will say, however, that YouTube needs to implement a lot more moderation tools for the live chat. We actually run into this during our Streamer News shows. There aren't enough live chat moderation tools. And in fact, in recent streams, it feels like they've either restricted the number of tools or nerfed them somehow. And I'm not really sure how or why, but they definitely need to work on that a little bit. Next up is just a little bit of an opinion from me. This is coming from a PC Gamer article that's just mentioning that there's no, that's not the right link, my bad. That there's no, really, why is it copying the Twitter link? I want the PC Gamer link. There we go. Sorry about that. Days Gone is coming to PC, and it'll have a photo mode that has super resolution. It'll have ultra wide support and all of that, but it won't have DLSS or ray tracing. And this is the case. Digital Foundry has been talking about this a lot. This is also the case for games that have AMD sponsored features as well, because DLSS is specifically an NVIDIA sanctioned feature and requires NVIDIA hardware. And really, I think we're going to reach a point, and I don't know that it'll happen, because realistically, I don't know that it's happened with PhysX or any of those other technologies. But I think DLSS is going to become so important that it will need to be opened up somehow. Now, realistically, AMD can roll out their own. AMD is currently working on their own DLSS kind of feature, but it doesn't have the same AI training backing as NVIDIA's, and it won't be as good. It'll still be decent, but won't be as good. I think DLSS will reach a point where it needs to be opened up a little bit because it is so significant of a feature in terms of performance improvements and really most people not being able to tell the difference, and you have to really look for it to even know that it's there, that I think they'll need to start opening it up so that more games can implement it without playing ball with some of NVIDIA's crazy terms or having NVIDIA exclusive features in the first place or what have you. So I don't know how that will work. I don't know that NVIDIA has historically ever really done this, but it would benefit the games industry immensely if it could happen. Elgato is beta testing a new update to the Wavelink software at long last. And Elgato's software moves a little slowly. One of the things they're bragging about is being able to resize the main window. Okay, whatever. You can now reorder the channels that are available on the inputs. Previously, I believe you just had to delete them and re-add them after the fact to change the order. And then they're improving the engine to have faster audio configuration and improve the reliability of the audio routing, which is pretty sweet. Pretty nice to see. You can join their Discord they have a link here. You can join their Discord to test the beta for yourself, try out the features, submit feedback, things like that. But it is pretty cool to see that they're updating it and supporting it regardless. Next up, I'm sad to talk about this as I'm literally wearing Sennheiser headphones. But Sennheiser has selling off their audiophile headphone business. They had already sold off their gaming audio business to Epos Audio. Funny enough. Frustrating name choice there. But they already branched that off as its own business. And now the audiophile grade hardware is sold off to Sonova for $200 million. And they're going to continue picking it up. It's actually a Swiss hearing aid company. Now, hopefully, they'll continue to sell the good stuff that exists, and hopefully they will improve the products and just keep making good stuff. But it's really upsetting because Sennheiser has done really good stuff. Now, the Epos Audio stuff still even has Sennheiser's name on it as they continue through the transition. The deal itself includes licensing for the Sennheiser brand, so it'll be Sonova making and selling it, but Sennheiser labeling on it, which will be a little confusing and is always frustrating with audio products because we have plenty of instances where a company sells off its fancy brand, the brand name attached to the product stays, but the quality drops, and so that hurts the reputation and blah, 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 and gets really frustrating. But I have some of my favorite headphones I've ever used for at least general purpose use for high quality audio have been Sennheiser. So I have high hopes for what Sonova will do, but I'm also nervous, as one should be. What I'm not nervous about is retro shooters being made more accessible. This is really exciting. A classic 90s retro FPS by the name of Operation Body Count is now available on GOG.com. Fully playable on modern computers, which is very exciting. GOG does great work to make old games classic playable, preserve them. Game preservation is incredibly important, and just make them playable and enjoyable. And it is available on GOG for super cheap. So I have a link to that in the chat. I will post as well. I think it is incredibly important, and I love seeing games like this become more playable. Now, I have been working on finally restoring my Windows 98 computer back there, and it's finally up and running again, so I'm happy to try out a lot of retro stuff over on my Voodoo 3 in there. I'm very excited for. And I believe Phil's Computer Lab actually has a tutorial on getting GOG games, since that's the only legal way to buy a lot of these older games. Not legal, but like, it's the only way to buy them in a way that actually supports the developers, because buying something used doesn't give any money to the creator of it. And especially when it's only $7 anyway, picking up something like this. Phil's Computer Lab has a video. You'll have to look it up, and I'll have to dig it up when I'm ready. But you can take these versions and still play them on the original DOS and Windows 98, 95, whatever computers, which is pretty sick. So they're not, permanently altered to be modernized. You can still play them on older hardware. And this is one that also is functionable on Mac as well, which is pretty neat. We also have another modern retro game releasing. This is a game called Demons of Asteborg, which is a new action platformer / sort of RPG being developed and released, and they have physical copies and everything like that for the SEGA Genesis / Mega Drive. This is really cool. It's inspired by games like Castlevania and Ghosts and Goblins and things like that. it looks freaking sick. I tried ordering it and it rejected my credit card, so I'm gonna have to try again at some point because I want to get a physical copy to play on my actual Genesis over on my retro setup. But it looks great, and of course it will be releasing on Steam and things like that as well if you just want to play it on modern systems. But I love seeing these new games release on older systems. It's just a lot of fun to see this stuff get developed, and I'm stoked to really, you know, see more of this happen in recent years. By the way, speaking of retro games, my RetroTink 5X review should be coming Monday. I have had a blast making this video. It is super long. I had to release the Upscaling Retro Games for Streaming Masterclass first as a kind of preface to this, because there's a lot of context that really you'll just have to go watch that video to pick up for this, and this one's already super long as is. But I put a lot of work into this video. It should be coming Monday. I'm still working on editing, but I am super stoked for that video if you've been curious about that as well. Guitar Giveaway Channel says, "Go EposVox, you rock, mate." Thank you. Thank you very much. Over on the EA side of things, EA has released all of the Mass Effect bonus content from the original deluxe editions of Mass Effect 2 and 3, as well as the soundtrack to the first Mass Effect, available to download for free just to celebrate the release of the Legendary Edition of the Remastered Trilogy, which is really cool. The Remastered Trilogy just went live today, so go check that out if you want to enjoy some Mass Effect with updated graphics and things like that. I believe it's like a 30 gigabyte download, which is pretty big. But that hopefully means it has a lot of good upgraded content within it. But with that, there is currently, I have not seen an update so far. It just says we'll keep you updated. I haven't seen an update so far. But there is currently, or there was at least, a DMCA issue with streaming the game because they have sold the movie rights for Mass Effect to Warner Brothers, I believe, which somehow ended up claiming the soundtrack. And so people have been getting Content ID claims or potential DMCA claims for Mass Effect Legendary Edition streams for those who were streaming it early. They are working on resolving that, but be careful if you stream it because who knows? That's honestly kind of ridiculous, but whatever. Just a quick note, Google will start switching accounts to automatically have two-factor authentication by default, which should always be the case and is incredibly important, but I am glad to see here. Just wanted to mention it. It's coming. Next up is a big, but also little, Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve update. This is update 17.2. I know we just covered an update recently, but this is yet another update for it. Most of the update is focused on the Fairlight tab, which frankly, whatever. I don't care that much about. But for content creators and YouTubers and things like that, this is incredibly important. First and foremost, you can now import MKV files into DaVinci Resolve. And as far as I can tell, they work pretty well. I have noticed a little bit of seeking trouble, scrubbing through it on the timeline compared to the MP4 Remux of the exact same file. And that is standard with MKV files because they are just rough for that sort of thing. But you can now just import your stream VODs or whatever from MKV directly from OBS or your streaming program without needing to remux them or transcode them, which is freaking incredible. They are now one of the only commercial NLEs that actually supports that. Premiere supported it for a total of about 6 months and then they removed it. However, we've been talking in my Discord server that they have announced again that they are reinvestigating adding support for MKVs again. So I don't know if something's changed and that's why programs are supporting it again or what, but I'm happy to see it regardless. But also, they now support AV1 decoding with hardware acceleration for Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA hardware. Specifically only on Windows for some reason. I don't know why yet. But currently this is only available on Windows. But if you have AV1 clips, you can now edit them on your timeline in DaVinci Resolve. Now you'll need hardware acceleration for the playback to be super great. So like on my main editing workstation here, I have a Titan RTX instead of a 3000 series GPU. So I don't have the capability to decode it on hardware at the moment, but it is still exciting to see, and that finally opens up the viability for me to start encoding my video archives to AV1 instead of HEVC, which is something I have wanted, but I was waiting on since I pull my old videos into video editors and things like that. I am excited to see AV1 decode support finally get added. They also added faster startup times, which apparently affects people with USB headsets and things like that. Because DaVinci Resolve startup mainly lags based on detecting audio devices and things like that. And so they have improved startup time rapidly, and those with USB audio devices got even faster startup times, which is incredible. It runs really fast now. And they have new Fusion template bundles. So that means people like Patrick, who I feature for DaVinci Resolve tutorials, can now basically put all of their templates and things like that into one bundle, which will import for you automatically and a lot easier, and even have icons in the effects menu to show you what it does, which is a new thing. Really sick, excited to see what smart people can do with it in the future. And so I just wanted to shout out this update because it is huge in just like subtle ways. Speaking of huge and subtle ways, but not really, Teespring, one of the worst options for creator merch that most people just didn't like, have rebranded themselves to just Spring instead of Teespring, just Spring, and they're going all in on NFTs. So as if it wasn't a terrible enough choice in the first place, just don't go with them. Dear God. That's all I've got to say there. Oh, I didn't link that in the chat. I forgot. I'm pulling my own chat duty today. Framework is a laptop that has just released pre-orders, and their website went down over and over and over yesterday from the hype in terms of people wanting to pre-order. But this is a laptop that's available for pre-order that is specifically designed to be updated, to be modified, to be repaired by the end user, which is incredibly important in the current context and everything of right to repair fights and things like that. But it is a laptop specifically designed to be modified. Everything is modular, everything's user accessible, and everything's upgradable. It is a DIY edition, which I think is really cool. And this is one of those things where realistically, you got to buy the best product for you. So if you need specific hardware, you need a specific keyboard, you have a specific experience that supports your work the best, it is kind of important that you buy that within some capacity that lets you do your work. But at the same time, as a scene, we need to support projects like this that represent our values, that represent our fight for right to repair, that allows you to do these kinds of things. And so if you've been looking for a laptop that allows these things, this is an option available for you. I haven't looked at specs yet. The DIY edition is configurable from $749. I don't know what kind of hardware they have available, but it seems well supported. Their warranties seem great. You can even upgrade and swap out the monitor panel. Like, lots of stuff like that. It looks like they have 11th gen mobile processors from Intel, only shipping Windows at the moment, or you can just have no operating system available. I do wish they would ship with some Linux. Configure it by default. You've got WD Black NVMe drives, which is awesome. 8 to 32 gigs of memory, Wi-Fi 6E, awesome 60 watt USB-C charger, and the display. Whoo! All right, I want one of these right now. I would prefer a Ryzen option, but I really want one of these because it has a 3x2 2256 by 1504 display. This sounds phenomenal. Then of course you got Iris Xe graphics, a 1080p 60 FPS webcam. I would love to play around with that. And expansion ports, a fingerprint reader, backlit keyboard. This sounds freaking awesome. As well as they have an expansion card system. It looks like it's using just USB-C ports here to do the expansion. So maybe it's Thunderbolt or something. I'm not certain because that just looks straight up like USB-C. But you can pass through, yeah, USB 4. Here we go. The default card supports USB 4. It has 20 volt 5 amp charging, display port for monitors, and you can use it on either side of the notebook, which is phenomenal. Then you can get a USB-A port instead. You can get HDMI for 4K 60, display port for 8K 60 because it's DP 1.4. Whew, this is awesome. The only complaint, Sienna pointed out, it is a 13.5 inch display, but honestly, I don't see it being a problem. I think some people will prefer bigger displays, but I think for the little portable thing it is, I 100% want to get my hands on this because this sounds incredible. Go check it out if you want. This is not sponsored, obviously. I've never even touched it, but I want to support projects like this. Next up, we're getting a new Fatal Frame game, guys. Really exciting, except it's a Pachinko machine. This keeps happening with Japanese franchises. Konami has basically gone all in on Pachinko. It's really disappointing, but I wanted to troll and announce it because Fatal Frame was a cool franchise. It was a PlayStation exclusive franchise before it became a Nintendo exclusive franchise, which was weird because it's definitely more PS2 kind than Nintendo, but whatever. Pretty cool. Voltar posted a unlisted video here. There's been a lot of news about European 3DS games dying, and people thought that maybe the RAM was expiring, there might be a battery inside it that was dying or whatever, but especially Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire cartridges that just stopped working. And Voltar ended up investigating it and has found that the carts, the chips, the ROM chips on them just need reflowed, and that the cart immediately works, all the save data is intact and everything. And so it appears to be a mechanical failure in that the way they're using their surface mount components, the inserting and ejecting of the game cart just stretches and flexes the board, that some of those joints become loose or damaged or whatever. And so a basic solder reflow by him took him like a minute, fixes the carts. And so that's a good thing that the games can still be preserved. You probably don't even have to lose your save data, but it's a really interesting issue. And so I just wanted to highlight it because there's a lot of clickbaity articles about how the carts are killing themselves and what's wrong with it, and most of the explanations of what's wrong with it are incorrect. So I just wanted to show it for a moment here. Next up, Streamlabs has announced that they have a integration with TikTok, which is actually really exciting. I've been planning a video for a while about streaming to TikTok from the computer because the mobile streaming quality and everything is just whatever. But they actually have a full-on partnership here through to the new TikTok for Developers program. And so you'll be able to use both the Streamlabs mobile app and Streamlabs OBS on the desktop for streaming and recording, and stream to TikTok. And you'll get tipping support, you'll get analytics, you'll get on-screen alerts for different things that you can use on TikTok. You can show off your custom merch store, your widgets, and whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of Streamlabs and their Streamlabs OBS, but being able to stream from the desktop to TikTok and doing so with like the added features is really cool. So I wanted to highlight it regardless, especially since a lot of my viewers still use Streamlabs OBS, which is fine. The NBC and Twitch are partnering together to stream the Olympics next from Tokyo. I apparently no longer have access to this article because paywalls on articles are great. I'll have it linked below in case anyone does have access. But the highlights are that Japan is trying to get their youth to be more interested in consuming the Olympics and supporting the Olympics being broadcast from Tokyo. And so for the first time, the NBC Olympics is partnering with Twitch and will live stream Olympic content. Not only the obvious Olympic games and things like that, but they will stream daily content like just a live studio show, like commentary, color commentary, and things like that, talking about the games. So that is pretty exciting for Twitch and normalizing, mainstreamifying streaming on the whole, which is cool. Streaming on TikTok has been a thing for a long time, just not super easy from desktop. Got a last couple of topics here to cover. Of course, one of the big ones I was talking about, the New York Attorney General has solid proof that the wave of fake anti-net neutrality complaints to the FCC that we saw during the last big net neutrality push were actually funded by internet service providers. And they are making a big push now that they have tangible, real proof of this being funded by the ISPs, that it's actual fraud, that they are going to fight it. And so I am excited to see what comes of this. There were a lot of skepticism that maybe just people were doing it or whatever, but it was clearly botting, and I am excited to see this fight continue, especially now that we no longer have Mr. Giant M&M's mug guy in charge of the FCC. The Witcher 3 is getting next-gen updates for the next-gen consoles, improving graphics and features and things like that, and apparently they have been contacting user mod developers to integrate some specific user mods to help improve the game, which is really cool. Now, a lot of the articles talking about this seem to imply that something about this has never been done before, and that's not entirely true, and in fact, Valve and other companies have even outright hired user mods or user modders to build things for their games. However, I will point you to the fact that a lot of classic game re-releases and things like that do use community-built emulator projects, either officially licensed or just stolen code. And so the core concept here isn't that, unique necessarily on its own, but it's pretty cool to see that they are doing this, and it helps kind of reduce their dev load as well, and helps give, assuming some sort of compensation and credit are provided to the mod developers, helps give some legitimacy to the modding scene. And it's also why supporting mods is so important in games, and games that seem to refuse it really tick me off. Backblaze has started incorporating SSD failure data into their storage reliability reports. Now, at a glance, you might take away from it that SSDs die less often than hard drives, but that's because the SSDs that have been in their rotation do not have the same lifespans or haven't been in line. Oh, my webcam has cut out. I think my camera overheated. Really now? Hold on 1 second. Thank you, Sony, and your overheating cameras. There we go. I think we're back for a moment here. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I don't actually see any overheating warning on my little on-screen display, but that doesn't mean it's not there since I have Clean Feed enabled. I think my A7C overheated here since we're going a little bit longer than usual. But the message to take away from this is not that SSDs can last longer than hard drives, but it will be important to continue watching this as they release future SSD data and things like that, because we'll get to see some actual data on reads and writes and long-term stability things for SSDs, which is pretty cool. All right, last couple topics here. IBM is making 2nm processes. And specifically, they are quoting that the 2nm chips could quadruple cell phone battery life, which is fascinating. Obviously, that's a dubious claim until we get some actual hardware, but we're jumping straight from 7nm to 2nm, which is pretty cool. Although Apple is Apple a fusion of Apple and Epic? I don't know. But Apple is running on 5 and 3nm, but that's not the point. We're not acknowledging that. The Ryujinx Switch emulator got some really cool updates in a big update here. In that they have Amiibo emulation almost completely perfected. They've introduced custom user profiles. They now have a beta of a Vulkan GPU backend available for testing, and improved shader compilation speed, which allows you to not have as much stuttering when you're running the game for the first time, and they have online multiplayer support. So this is really cool to see. I'll have that linked below. Then I just wanted to quickly mention as a personal favorite, the Scott Pilgrim UHD HDR Blu-ray is now available. And from what I hear, the previous Dolby Vision theater screening they did looked phenomenal. And so I am really excited to get this. I did not get to see it in theaters, but I am super stoked to check it out because I am a pretty big fan of this game. So I am stoked for that regardless. I apparently can't generate an affiliate link for it anymore. That's a little weird. I was able to before. I'll just copy this one into chat. But it is cheaper, or it was initially cheaper at Target and Best Buy. I don't know if it still is. And lastly, I wanted to end with a note talking about what we'll be doing on our Discord server here. Discord is launching a new discovery feature for servers while also integrating Clubhouse support. So they're introducing stage channels, which are basically Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse. But they're also introducing discovery for it. So you can host events on your server that are Clubhouse or Twitter Space style talks that people will then be able to find in the Discord app on their own, which will help effectively promote your server. If you have something worthwhile to talk about, all right, our camera is just dying, so we're going to switch over here to the bird's eye camera, I guess. If you have an event that impresses people or makes you sound really smart or whatever that will attract people to your server, this builds a little bit more of a discovery factor for your server, and you get to host the stage channels as well. And we have a few that we'll be doing over the next few months about the development of the backing track music, as well as some other technical stuff that I am very impressed by. But this is a scenario where, again, I really want them to introduce video stages, because I could do a lot with video presentations with the stage room on Discord, but audio only, personally, I am always super limited by, so I find it a little frustrating. But that is all the topics we have for today in Streamer News. I did have someone in chat asking if I had permanently switched from YouTube to Twitch, and the answer to that is no. I've always streamed Streamer News exclusively on YouTube because you can't multi-stream as an affiliate to Twitch. I still do my Pokemon opening streams on Twitch and my retro gaming stuff. I just streamed earlier this week on Twitch as well. Things like that. Thank you guys so much for your support in this extended Streamer News episode. I need to go check on the family and let my camera cool off, apparently. Hope you enjoyed. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Check the description for the music here. Backingtrack.gg. I just want to give another promo too. That is our personal music we have developed here for royalty-free, for videos, for streams completely stream safe, and we have free downloads over in our Discord. We also there we go. We will also have stems coming in June if you want to remix them for yourself, and we'll have releases every month. Pretty exciting, awesome hard rock and metal music. Good stuff there. And people talking about cameras overheating. Sony is still a good option, but their cameras can overheat in time. I need to check and see if my temperature threshold has been reset, because they have a short threshold, which gets, like, shuts off really, really quickly. And then they have a longer one, which usually runs a significantly longer amount. The issue here is I have a giant key light. It's an Aperture 120D that is literally shining onto the back of the camera where the heat is generated. And so it's effectively heating up the camera on top of the camera. So there's that. I can try to look into a little like silent USB fan to point at it, but I don't want to add any noise to my setup here. So whenever I do my 1 hour long streamer news, it's never an issue. So I'm not worried about it too much. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much for your support. I'm going to go rest my throat because my voice is dying today. Rock out to some streaming or to some backing track music, and I'll see you all later. I have left my A6400 on for weekends. I've left my A5100 on for weekends. And I've even left this on for like a week straight. And I noticed that this morning when I came into the studio, it had been left on. So it's possible that it's only overheating because it's been left on for a couple days. However, different cameras have different issues. And leaving it on without being like actively pulled from with an HDMI handshake, it's not actually really running, so it heats up a little bit differently. It's complicated. Whatever. Bye!